Hi, this is Bobby Tewksbury with TewksHitting.com. We're here today to look at Joshua's swing. Joshua's a 11-year-old from Michigan, and this is episode 11 of my swing. So let's start taking a look. Actually, first we're going to look at strengths and weaknesses. So he makes good contact, tends to go to opposite field regardless of pitch location. Passionate about the game, which I love to hear, and wants to find more pop. So let's start taking a look and see what's going on. So I'll just let this play through. Got a number of swings here, and just watching this, there's some obvious stuff to me. Some hands dropping. Some people will call it bat drag, where the elbow is getting in front of the hands, and kind of some just hands falling off the tee. He was kind of squishing the bug a little bit, not so much in the other ones, but there's some stuff going on with just some kind of dropping. So elbows just getting a little bit in front of the hands, and we're going to talk about why I see everything going the opposite field. This one looks like he just kind of really keeps his hands really tight, and arms are kind of stuck on his body. Kind of almost tomahawks that one where the barrel gets over the hands. And this swing right here, we got a lot of just dropping. So one thing that I find with younger hitters who don't have a lot of strength, if they start their hands too high, they just kind of fall the whole time. And where he kind of has this little bit of loading movement back, and this is a theme. I mean, we talk about this in almost every my swing, and I think that's important for people to realize that this is normal. This is what is typically found with youth hitters, where they kind of get loaded up with everything back. So his hands are back, everything's back over the backside before he's moved forward. So you can't load your hands back against your forward movement if your hands load before you go forward. Hope that makes sense. So again, if you load your hands while your weight is back, they're going to have some forward move. You're not going to be able to create resistance with your load the way that we see the best hitters do it. So again, we see, I'll put the mouse on his hands as he's going forward. As soon as he starts going forward, and I like to look at what the hands are doing when the front foot is coming to the ground. Everything is just dropping. And I don't mind the head going down, but when the hands are going down at the same time, that's when we're going to run into some issues. We get a little bit of that elbow leading, and this is where you're running into that trouble with everything going to right field. So if the elbow gets ahead like this, the bat is very lagged. I will say lagged in the wrong way. You want to create lag, but you want to do it in relation to your body turn. So you want your hands to control the lag, not your arms. So when the elbow slides ahead like this, which is very typical with prepubescent boys, it's very typical in females of all ages. There's some strength factors, there's some ligament factors, there's different reasons why this happens. Sometimes the carrying angle of the elbow, the valgus angle of that elbow is going to make it slide underneath a little bit. But this is something it's common with prepubescent boys. Post-pubescent boys is very rare. So don't get too hung up on this. There's other root cause stuff that we need to talk about. But the reason it's going to right is this elbow leads, his body's fairly turned right here, so the bat's kind of stuck. So as he comes into the zone, you can see how the bat is just really, really far behind. And when he comes into that ball, the term I use is laid off. So the bat is kind of open coming through the zone. There's kind of one point that's kind of out front, and I would say kind of more out this way, where if he catches it out front, makes contact out front, he can hit the ball really far, I bet, where the bat's had time to catch up to what the body's doing, and you can hit it really far. The only problem with that is if he gets a little bit further than that one point, he's going to roll over and hook it. If he hits it behind that point, deeper than that point, it's going to be laid off and kind of a weak ball towards right field, just kind of flared, sliced over there without the ability to drive the ball. So this is Jeff Francoeur, and it kind of reminded, when I saw his swing, it reminded me of Francoeur. So I wanted to kind of look at his swing and talk about it a little bit and compare it to what Josh was doing. Francoeur is a guy who I think most would agree is kind of underachieved in his career. It's not that he's a bad player, but he hasn't done what a lot of people thought he could do. He's a 262 career hitter, 140 homers in his career. So kind of 260, 18 homers, 81 RBI. That would be his 162 game average if he played for a full season. That would be his average numbers for his career. So I'm not saying he's a bad hitter, but he kind of, in my opinion, has some inefficiencies. So he kind of flattens his bat out and kind of delays. So he kind of holds it there and then has to recreate his swing. And I'm going to pull up Mike Piazza in a second and show some differences. So Francoeur is a guy who I'd say is kind of creating good angles, but isn't loading into his swing. So he really flattens that bat out and then has to restart things. And this doesn't especially look like a off-speed pitch, just the way the catcher's set up and the way he reacts to it. So we don't want to be in a situation where everything's getting kind of loaded and then has to restart. And that's in some ways what I see. A little bit different style or a little bit different look where kind of everything's loaded and then has to restart. Kind of once he has his hands dropping. Francoeur does, keeps his hands up a little bit higher when that's happening, but he's kind of has to refire here, and that takes time, and this is kind of inefficient. So this is Mike Piazza, a little bit different style, and I was trying to find guys who just have a short little stride. Piazza keeps his hands, starts him much lower than you do, Joshua. So we got lower hands and a vertical barrel. And one thing he does, he gets his hips to kind of close off a little bit. And it's a very simple swing where he pretty much just kind of picks up his hands, strides, lets his body open up, and now he's in a position where the hands are still at the shoulder. And when you watch this swing, I want you to notice how the bat flows the whole time. His elbow gets really close to being ahead of the hands, but this camera angles a little bit to the front side, a little bit up the first base line. So if you look at it from the side view, that back forearm is going to look up and down. And from there, the hands can really turn and get this bat into the zone. And for people that may have trouble understanding when I talk about working more inside the ball or getting inside the ball later, this is what it looks like right here. Look at how deep his bat is, very deep into the process, very late in the process, where he's able to release this angle and have a good swing direction because the bat's going to be opening into the zone very late from the inside, where he doesn't have to try to be inside the ball. He has to just be on time, and he doesn't have to force inside the ball. He doesn't have to manipulate his bat path to be inside. So Joshua, I would recommend trying to do some Piazza. Start with the hands a little bit lower, like I said before. Usually when the hands start high, they end up dropping. So I would love for you to start your hands maybe armpit height, not over the shoulder. Maybe drop them to around the armpit and see if you can get the hands to, instead of kind of shifting back here, get this little hip turn, this hip coil, hip cock, whatever you want to call it. Instead of kind of sliding the shoulders and the head back, get a little hip turn, and then when you stride, pick your hands up instead of dropping the hands. So again, just going to kind of pick the hands up and get into the swing process that way. That's going to help clean up your direction. It's going to help you drive the ball through the middle of the field. It's going to give you some timing benefit, and really just kind of clean up your process. Make it so it's easier to stay through the ball. Got a couple more hitters. This is Joe DiMaggio, pretty good hitter. Again, he's got the bat, I would say, more vertical than you for sure. So the bat's a little more up and down. Again, the hands are not above the shoulder. You see the shoulder line is, probably right at the top of the shoulder with the top hand. A little bit of a stride, and notice how he doesn't go back. It's just a move forward right from there. And that can be a hard thing to do initially. Kids want to slide back, so if you struggle with it, it's okay. A lot of the time I like to put down some sort of checkpoint on the ground and feel that you're just reaching over that. Get your body going forward. So for that, I would use like up north we use driveway markers. There's, I don't know, like 3 feet long. Stick them in the ground. They're little thin rods that if you step on them, you're not going to hurt yourself. You can put tape down on the ground if you're inside. Just draw a line in the dirt if you're outside. Just give yourself a little checkpoint. Another thing you can do is don't take full swings with this, but have somebody hold one of those driveway markers just right next to your head, right where the mouse is right here. And don't let your head slide back into that marker. So if we go, put it right next to his head, he would never kind of work back into that point. So it's just giving you a little reference point. If we look at yours, start it further forward, so you kind of work right back into that point. So don't let that head go back. See if we can get those hands to start a little bit lower and see what kind of movement we can get. One more I want to look at, one of my favorites when I was back in high school, where Nomar does more of just like a toe touch thing, which you could try out. Again with the hips. One thing about DiMaggio that I didn't point out, he actually strides open a little bit. Where are we here? So he actually gets a little bit open. So he doesn't have a lot of kind of hip coil, but he strides to the left. So his alignment doesn't really require him to turn back as much. It's a good move to try with the hip coil, like we see with Nomar here. So I'd recommend it, especially for a younger guy looking for some, some support, I guess, to the swing, get the lower body under you more. But with Nomar, again, doesn't have those hands dropping as much, doesn't have a big move. Nomar's got a very quiet swing, and your moves are pretty small, so that's why I'm trying to show you him. But again, hands kind of head high, where Nomar is kind of right at the shoulder here. And I feel like that's going to help you gain a little bit more control of your swing. Nomar's got a bat angle similar to yours, so we got to find a way to get the lower body to support your moves a little bit better without dropping so much. So I recommend, again, get these hands a little bit lower. Think about them being right in front of your armpit. Try to get your hands to be going up when you're going forward, not when you're going back. And see if we can get some fix with this dropping movement, because that's really what's causing you to flare to right field and not drive the ball the way you want to. All right, Joshua. So thanks for submitting your video. I appreciate the opportunity to look at your swing. And if anybody else would like to be considered for the My Swing, please submit your swing. The link will be in the post. And hope people listening and watching have learned something. If you have any questions, please let me know. And look forward to doing the next My Swing here soon. So thanks again, Josh. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.